Hello, welcome back. This is La Princesse des Beaux-Arts, Huan Lin. I teach you energy, awareness, and manipulation to lead a more conscious, beautiful, and fulfilling life. Today, I want to talk about getting what you want from someone or a situation. For example, getting proper compensation or getting someone to do your bidding. Let me show you how energy flows in this situation. I know what you're thinking. This sounds maniacal, but it actually isn't. Let me tell you why. A lot of the truly psychopathic, manipulative people in the world, or organizations, to be honest, governments, corporations, they spend trillions on figuring out these things. How energy in the form of time, attention, money flows from individuals into their collectives. What I'm doing here is showing you these patterns so you can lead a more authentic, fulfilling life. Is that evil? I don't think so. So, how do I get what I want? You need to understand the world operates from this active, masculine, logical energy and this feminine, seductive, emotional energy. And everything balances, and when it doesn't, things fall apart. So I like to use this analogy of a couple. When I lived in Paris, I had a 53-something-year-old neighbor. He looked like a skinny, undernourished version of Gru from Minions, but he was dating models less than half his age, and he could have like 5 girlfriends at a time. He had tons of friends. He lived in a tiny studio apartment, but he was always getting invited to these lavish parties. And I was thinking, okay, he was a Libra like me, but, oh my God. But he told me something. He was really good at reading people. He told me that in all of the successful relationships and power couples, the man always thinks he's in control, but really, the woman calls the shots. And this is how the world operates, okay? Because on a surface level, we like to think logic, masculine energy, rules everything, right? But in reality, it doesn't. People act, spend money, do things, often extremely irrational, based off their emotions primarily. And we don't want to admit that because it feels unsafe. We want the illusion of safety and predictability that comes with believing the world is run off based of logic, pure logic, this surface level logic. Okay. Oftentimes when you actually force things through logic, people don't do what you want and everything backfires. For example, you want someone to like you, but the more you do for them, it seems like the more they run away or they resent you even or look down on you. Okay? Another example, we all have, as individuals, this differs from person to person, but we all have at least one aspect of our lives where we would be willing, where we would happily sacrifice and compromise on something most people would consider essential for daily life in order to maintain or upkeep something most people would consider non-essential for basic daily living. For example, we all know those people who would rather starve than let their pets go hungry. We've heard of fashionistas that are willing to live off ramen for 2 months in order to afford a designer item. You can see this in luxury, okay? One of my Hong Kong friends, she told me this expression, 吃菠萝包，背 LV 包. In English, this means eat cheap pineapple buns, those little ones from the bakery, and wear an LV bag. So people are willing to skip out on food and essential nutrients in order to afford a designer bag. Does this make surface level logical sense? It doesn't, okay? But when you look deeper into the emotional undercurrents of how this world works, it makes absolute sense. Let me tell you why. One of my Parisian friends, she was this really elegant, lady, okay? She has her own jewelry line. She dresses in ise miyake. She tailors her clothes. She has impeccable taste. But she would also always like remark to me, oh, I don't understand why these Chinese tourists wear such big logos. It's so vulgaire. What she lacks in this case is perspective. Because let me ask you, if your grandparents and great-grandparents survived or lived through, or didn't, sadly, starvation, communism, the Cultural Revolution, a country where you did not have food to eat and you were like selling your children in order to get money to survive. If your ancestors had to live through that, and let me tell you, we carry the fears and traumas of our ancestors in our souls, energetic and physical bodies. If your ancestors had to go through that, imagine what a designer item or logo means to you. And especially in a more community over individual focused society like many East Asian countries, when you have a designer logo, it is literally like a talisman against those hungry ghosts of starvation, lack, and poverty. You have this physical symbol, and let me tell you, the world operates through symbols, influencing your subconscious mind. It is not just a Dior bag. It is a symbol that you've made it. You are someone who can wear a luxury item. Are you going to think about like the ramen you ate for 2 months when you bought that? No. And I can guarantee you, is going hungry in order to feed their pet or in order to buy a designer bag. Let me guarantee you that when they're feeding their pet and when they're wearing that bag, they are so fucking happy. They are so proud. That is why when you actually go through the emotional, subconscious undercurrents of how this world works and you operate through that perspective to get people to do your bidding and get what you want from them, you are actually making life better for you and the other person, because they actually feel more emotionally fulfilled when you let them do that. It doesn't make logical sense from your individual perspective, but it does in the fifth dimensional sense, okay? This is why Shira 7 is so popular and Sprinkle Sprinkle is so popular, because you think that a mother who sacrifices her happiness to cook, clean, do everything for their kids, pick up their socks, that mother does this thinking this is how she expresses love, and maybe it is for her. But I can tell you, those kids are feeling the shame, the embarrassment, and guilt from having a self-sacrificing mother. But she doesn't see that from her perspective. And let me tell you, this is why when women give gifts to men, they're actually doing what they wish they could have. They're thinking subconsciously, this is a generalization, but this is what I've observed. The number of times someone, like a man, has tried to redirect a gift some lady who has a crush on him gave him when he has a crush on me. There's this guy at the post office who I think has a crush on me. I know. And this lady who has a crush on him, this lady gave him like a box of chocolates, which is like so cute. And she printed his name on it. She customized a label with his name on it. And he tried to give that chocolate to me. This is a rite of passage, to be honest. Doing something for someone else that you want them to do for you, that is true manipulation, okay? And you get punished for that. It doesn't work how you think it's going to. If you want someone to do something for you, you need to find out their emotional language, kind of like a pinball machine, and learn to operate with that instead of coming at it with what you would want in their position. Because, I've given you these examples of designer clothes. It doesn't make logical sense about emotions actually running the show instead of logic, and how that's an illusion to make us feel safe. Also, you see this in marketing. There's this amazing book called Alchemy by Rory Sutherland, who is a marketing executive in England for Ogilvy. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, he did this wonderful experiment with one of their charity clients. They were asking for donations through the mail, and they did 4 different options. First option is the envelope announced that it was hand delivered by volunteers. Second option is you can get a 25% tax rebate on all of your donations. Third option is better quality envelopes. Fourth option is the envelopes were in portrait format instead of landscape format. Logically, you would think that the envelopes announcing you get some sort of tax rebate, logic, numbers, efficiency, right? You would think that got more donations. But surprise, it didn't. It actually reduced the amount of donations by 30%. 30%, that's huge. Why? 25 tax rebate, that is not sexy. That doesn't make you feel like a badass, generous person. It's just like saying, oh, do this because, no, it's not seductive or emotionally appealing. It logically makes sense, but emotionally it's meh. All the other options, being delivered by a volunteer, having portrait format envelopes, or having better quality envelopes, they increase donations on average by 10% compared to a control. And you know what's surprising? The better quality envelopes, the nicer texture and paper, that significantly increased the amount of donations over £100. This shows you that if you want to get money from someone, you need to find out what makes them feel good and go for it. And you know why LVMH is like the most successful luxury marketing conglomerate, why it keeps on growing nonstop, why Bernard Arnault, his family is the richest family in the world? I visited so many of his department stores, La Samaritaine, Le Bon Marché in Paris, and what they have down on lock is the experience. You go into La Samaritaine in Paris and you're overwhelmed, you're embraced. It's like a Disneyland for adults with money. You know, if you don't have money, you're gonna come up with some in order to go to that place and buy something. That is emotional seduction. They have the fantasy. They have these small creators. They support these up-and-coming artists through design competitions and fashion awards. They've curated their entire space with art installations, smells, artworks. While everyone else in the mall and shopping center game, they're just trying. Do you see the same stores? You don't see that sort of art installation. You don't feel that enchantment. What you want to do when you want to get money or energy, love, attention, presence from another party is you want to find what enchants them, and they'll be happy. They'll be more than happy to give you what you want. And it's actually a win-win situation for both sides, not just yourself. I have another story of this, my last example, then I'm going to show you how to apply these. My last example is recently I was walking through this path that leads to my favorite grocery store, okay? And they have this group of volunteers asking for donations for a young people's charity to help them find employment. And what I've noticed is that they're gonna go for usually women because they're more open and compassionate. And once they I have pretty open, potent energy in my day-to-day life. So they naturally go towards me. And what I find is, if I listen to what they're saying, there are these volunteers, they're usually young men, and they're blasting me with this block of memorized information, we are young people's charity supporting employment ever since blah 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 blah. What we do is we find jobs, blah, blah, blah. They're literally throwing a paragraph of memorized robotic text to me. And I once saw this young man, it was his first day on the job. I think it was actually true because I could feel it. He was very shy and hesitant, and he was reciting me robotically this information about the charity, and he was quite shy and scared. And I had compassion for him specifically. because I know it's not easy to like send out your energy in this environment where people feel like you're a leech or mosquito. So I just like stopped him really gently, and I gave him a donation that I felt would make me happy and would make him happy. And the thing was, his manager came over, and he started asking me, "Oh, you are so generous. Would you be willing to make your donation £50, which is like twice what I agreed to?" And then I just had to calmly check him with compassion, obviously. And I literally said to these people, look, if you want to get more money out of me, this is how you do it. You show gratitude and appreciation and make me feel like a queen, a generous queen. And instead of asking for more, doubling down, logically you think asking means you get more, but emotionally that's repulsive. Why is it emotionally repulsive? Same with dating, same with friendships or interaction with your boss. You think you work harder, then you're going to get promoted? Not necessarily. Soft power. Do it the French way. Military presence and strategic gifts of monuments and artwork. If you want to have true influence, you need to find out what makes people feel good. Okay? So in this situation, I told him, if you want to get more money out of me, look, you make me feel like a generous queen. When you ask me for more than what I'm happy to give, you make me feel like I'm being exploited. And you make present yourself to me through like another perspective, like a mosquito or a leech. And I'm not saying they are a mosquito or a leech, but I'm just saying when you act like that, you need to be conscious of how the other party is perceiving you. And once they heard me, because I have a Mercury in Scorpio, I put it to you straight. Okay? I might be a Libra, but I'm not going to sugarcoat my Mercury in Scorpio. So when they got that, I'm compassionate but with boundaries. Every time I go by, they just like greet me and be nice. And that they don't mention like, could you donate more? And let me tell you, that makes me actually want to donate more because it makes me feel good. It doesn't make me feel like I'm a cheap person. It doesn't make me feel like I'm saying no. So you need to find out emotionally how the other party works. And Elon Musk, he said this in an interview or podcast once somewhere, where effective communication is pretty much you have this complex idea in your brain, right? And you need to pretty much go into the other person's mind and see with that perspective how you can compress your dense, complex message or information or concept idea into a way that when you deliver it to their brain, they can expand it in a way that is accurate in their mind. So this is why I don't like the expression wear another person's shoes as much as this expression I invented, which is wear another person's eyes. Because when you wear another person's shoes, you're literally thinking of how you would feel if you had the same experiences as the other person. And the thing is, even with the same situations and life experiences, two people can react in completely different ways and have completely different outcomes. This is why I like to say, wear another person's eyes. Then you can actually get to know their thinking patterns, not just what you could guess their reactions are going to be. So whiteboard time. Okay, so here we have this. Think of reality, what we like to call reality, the matrix, whatever. Think of reality as this circle, this big pie. And each individual person is a point of consciousness on this pie. And when you're looking at reality, you're only able to see this small portion of what is true. And this is why you can have two people seeing things that are seemingly opposite, but they're actually all part of the same reality. So two seemingly opposite truths, like here, they can actually both be true at the same time. Mind-blowing, right? But what you want to do when you want to get someone to do your bidding is you want to step out of this two-dimensional circle and think of yourself as a bird flying on top of this circle, so you can get a literal bird's eye view of what is going on. and then reconcile, merge what you want to communicate or get from someone into their reality. So this is why emotional seduction is a lot more effective than your logical force. Now, I've given you examples of why and how emotions control life so much more than logic and force could. Now let me show you how you apply this. So step one is you want to identify specifically what you want from your target. Though this sort of language is a bit pointy, you know what I'm saying, right? You know what I mean. So I trust you'll do this with compassion and good intentions. Step one, you identify what it is specifically you want from the other party. Is it money? Is it love, attention, presence, energy, changed behavior? Okay. And what you want to do here is, this is not controlling another person. This is observing and controlling yourself so they magically transform, but you don't wait for them. You don't expect them. You just know. You just notice how the world. Step one, you've identified what you want from your other party, your target. Okay, step two, you want to observe them and collect data points pretty much on how they operate, specifically emotionally, how they behave and what their emotional patterns are. So this is how you see, like, patterns show up. Archetypes exist for a reason, whether it's tarot cards, whether it's villains, heroes, magicians, story arcs. Archetypes exist because they have so much truth and potency behind them. The world works with symbolism. And this is why data breaches are actually awful and horrendous, because let me tell you, in this second part where you're collecting data about another person's consciousness and how they operate through the world, let me tell you, if a big corporation could extract enough data from their target client group, target audience, extract enough data for them to build a mechanical or artificial intelligence consciousness, if they could basically create a human in a closed lab space that is the average of all of the data they collected from their target client base, I don't care how morally corrupt that sounds to you, I just know that most corporations would raise a human in that confined lab environment in order to know how to manipulate or get money and attention and time from their customers. It's just a fact. So what you're doing is you're not like extracting their consciousness, but you're observing your target's emotional and behavioral patterns. And once you get enough data points on this little pie, you can these data points begin to have a consciousness or vibration, and you can actually tap into that and step into wearing their eyes, what I like to call that. So you're no longer seeing everything from your perspective and how do I get something from another person, but you're actually seeing the world through their eyes and understanding, oh, what would I, as this other person, need to experience in order for me to want to do this for this other person? So some examples of this, when you're building a bridge between what you want and what the other person needs to feel in order to do that for you. Some examples of this is, if you want let's say you want a boyfriend, you want a girlfriend who has all of these traits. For example, oh, I want a man who is creative, artistic, but also super grounded and good financially, and is like a great orchestra conductor and classical musician. So I can have beautiful serenades free of charge when I go to bed. And he's so in love with me that I can throw a metronome at him and he won't divorce me. Okay, you can get anything you want, babe, but how do you go about this? So basically, if you want a harmonious, good relationship, You find your ideal person, and then you ask, and then you become that. Joe Dispenza says you become that. But what does that mean? You become the divine counterpart to this other person. So in a sense, you're becoming your ideal person, but in your gender, whatever that is. And because the universe, the world, reality works through resonance, you're naturally going to harmonize and attract others of that type. So how would I collect data in this sense? I would tap into what this ideal person is like. What do they eat? How do they live? What do they wear? What are their habits? In a good way to start, this is would I date myself? Because if it's oh, hell no, then honey, you should work on that first. So the second perspective on a more business environment is, if you want to get money from people in exchange for a service or product, how do you do that? Okay, you have some ways to go about this. What I would suggest is you visualize and feel your ideal target customer. You have their traits and their behaviors and their consciousness in your imagination and energetic field. And then you can start by advertising in the places they would go to. And for example, having important figures, whether they're celebrities or people of influence in their fields of expertise and passion, have those people wear or consume what you are selling. And naturally, it would be like a drop of ink in a big vat of water, except as it spreads, it colors more and more and more. So it's like a dandelion, or almost like weed effect, or plant growth effect. It grows organically. Because let me tell you what doesn't work. You know, when you're so many companies and people, especially on Instagram, they pay for advertising. And they don't have an idea. They logically think they have an idea of what their target audience is, but when they pay to sponsor, promote a post of themselves over a bridge, or some guy with a car or taking selfies, you're just mindlessly promoting and spending so much money on pushing your Instagram posts. That is not going to be nearly as effective as if you just drop some hints, or subconscious hints or conscious hints, in the same community, in physical reality, as your target audience would frequent. Okay? Because people emulate others that they admire. This is how celebrities work. But I'm going to make another video about how you actually should be using celebrities. They shouldn't be using you. Celebrities are literally a mirror of the traits you admire and have within yourself. So they're actually a tool. The celebrities you admire are a tool for you to cultivate those qualities within yourself. But the way, especially in the US, it works is celebrity culture is so exploitative. It's become a way to live vicariously when you want to escape your reality and spend money on something, when in reality, celebrities are actually serving you. Okay, this is why I don't go to big pop concerts. It feels like energy harvesting to me. It is, pretty much, for me. But if you're passionate about that, you're actually getting more energy from it. So then go ahead. It varies from person to person. So another thing on asking. You can get away and get a lot just from asking and having the confidence and guts to ask for something. You know Shira 7, the sprinkle lady? She says if you want something from a man, just ask for it. And if he says no, just get it from someone else. There is so much truth in that, because asking works. But let me tell you the caveat. It only works if you are unfazed and unaffected by the answer. So if you ask for something, be unfazed by whether it is a yes or no, and know that you can get what you want in the end, and you're just trying a different path towards that. Because if you're asking for something and then you're getting all pissy and triggered and like, oh, you don't think I'm worth that? Why aren't you giving that to me? Why aren't you like paying attention to me? Why are you like spending money on me? Why are you so cheap? That's actually just meaning you're not communicating the right way with their emotional body, or because frankly, when you ask for something directly, it can be quite repulsive. But it's okay if you're unaffected and they're willing to like go to that bar, like a high jump in the Olympics. So only ask for things if you're unfazed by the answer and know that you can get what you want in the end regardless. That's my 2 cents on that. Next. This is pretty much how you get what you want from someone, from another party, from your target, whether it is a change in behavior, money, time, attention, care, any other form of energy. In order to get this, you need to have the perspective of how another being's emotional body works, because emotions are the strongest energy signatures people have, way stronger than the logic that seems to run the world. Okay? We cling on to this idea of logic and statistics to have a sense of security and safety in this seemingly arbitrary unfolding of life. But you can actually have a higher reasoning and higher logic, what I like to call wisdom and insight or perspective, when you take a bird's eye view and just understand how emotions go through different communities, bodies of culture, organizations, or individuals. This is how you get along much more harmoniously in the world with everyone, everything that enters your life. When you understand how energy flows inside their bodies in the form of emotions, as I've discussed today with you, then you can literally direct those little valves and patterns towards you. And they actually feel a lot better being in service to you when you cater to their emotional needs. Okay, that is it for today. Find me on Instagram under La Princesse des Beaux-Arts, or go look at my website, and I will see you very soon. Okay? Bye! Au revoir! Bisous!